firearm, and more than 183 people are injured in an attack. Guns are used in suicides, domestic violence, gang violence, and in so many other tragedies. It is time for us to act. We've had too many moments of silence and too many expressions of sympathy. Too many families are grieving the loss of a loved one. As challenging as this problem is, we have the ability to address it and to save lives. What we have lacked in the recent years is the will. But every day that we do not act is another day that families will mourn the loss of a loved one. Every day that we do not act is another day that our homes, our streets, our schools, even our houses of worship are less safe because dangerous weapons are in the hands of people who should not have them. We cannot afford to lose another day. We should act, and we should act now.
And now it's my pleasure to introduce a very dear friend, Representative Hakeem Jeffries, who is the leader of the Democratic Caucus, the chair of the Democratic Caucus, who has led the fight for us, all of us, on gun violence, but also on so many issues that affect our communities. Thank you so much, Representative Jeffries, for being here.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Debbie, for your introduction and for your continued leadership as you led so phenomenally inside of Congress and are now leading outside of Congress on this incredibly important issue. And of course, to Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, we are so inspired by you, by your fight, by your effort, by your strength, by your resilience, by your intellect, and in continuing to lead us forward. I'm confident that we will get these gun violence safety measures over the finish line. Thank you, Chairman Nadler, for your continued leadership in such a positive way of the House Judiciary Committee on this gun safety issue and on every other issue before that powerful committee of jurisdiction on so many challenging things that we confront as a country. And Natasha, thank you for, along with Debbie and Gabby, taking your pain and working to turn it into progress so that no mother will ever have to deal with what you dealt with the loss of your son. America is a great country for many reasons. In part, it's because the framers of the Constitution didn't promise us a perfect country, but they did promise us a march toward a more perfect union, which means that year after year, decade after decade, century after century, America has worked to try to perfect its flaws and create a better country, a better future for those who will inherit it. And now we're called at this moment, in this imperfect country, as we march toward a more perfect union, to try to address the epidemic of gun violence, which is unacceptable, as this memorial illustrates. Thousands of people all across the country losing their lives every year here in America, the wealthiest country, the greatest country in the history of the world. A country, however, that has 4% of the world's population, but more than 40% of the world's guns. It's estimated that there are more than 300 million guns circulating throughout America, many of which law enforcement has no idea where they are or how they may fall into the hands of criminals who will do harm to our families. It's time to change these conditions for the good of the country, the well-being of our children and our families. The House has acted as it relates to universal criminal background check legislation and is preparing to act in other ways, but we need the Senate to act. We need Congress as a whole to have that courage to change the conditions in this country. and address decisively the gun violence epidemic that has claimed the lives of far too many people. And I'm confident, because of great leadership from people like Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, that America, as it has always done, will confront its flaws, rise to the occasion, address the gun violence epidemic, decisively deal with this public health issue, and continue our country's long, necessary, and majestic march toward a more perfect union.
And now our Executive Director, Peter Ambler, who will close us out. Peter?
Thank you, everybody, for coming today. On behalf of Gabby, on behalf of Debbie, on behalf of the entire Giffords team, our 2 million supporters across the country, I want to welcome you to this tragic memorial that is meant not only to be a reflection for us on our failures as a country to protect oftentimes our most vulnerable people, like children, from acts of gun violence, but to call on policymakers to take action, to pass universal background checks, to invest billions of dollars in life-saving, community-led violence intervention solutions. We have assembled a coalition of Americans, doctors, business leaders, gun owners, everyday folks who simply want their kids to be able to go to school in safety, who want their neighborhoods to live in peace, who are sick of the 40,000 people who die in this country every year from gun violence. It's not lost on anybody here today, with the FBI numbers coming out over the past couple of weeks, that over the past year we have seen a 30% spike in murders, 70% of which are associated with a firearm, an increase that's driven almost exclusively by firearms access. And what is Congress doing about it? Nothing. The House has acted, the leaders behind me have acted, but we need Republicans in the Senate to listen to the 90% of their constituents, to the doctors, to the gun owners, to the businesses, to people in this country who simply want to live free of gun violence. The Gun Violence Memorial we originally unveiled on the National Mall in April as a call to the people working in the Capitol to act on gun violence, to pass universal background checks, to invest in violence intervention solutions. Leaders in the House have acted. We now need Republicans in the Senate to listen to their constituents, move the ball forward, and get this done. We'll be next moving the Gun Violence Memorial to states across the country. We'll be in Los Angeles in 2 weeks, and in the weeks and months after that, in states and communities across the country, calling on leaders to take action to keep our country and our communities safe. I will end it there, and if anybody has any questions, I can help answer them, as I assume also these wonderful leaders behind me can as well. Any questions?